Hello and welcome to this edition of Jamaica Magazine. I'm your host, Adrian Atkinson. Coming up on today's program, reformation is in the air. We take a look at the budget allocated for the work of the Ministry of Legal and Constitutional Affairs. Later, we continue our celebration of Farmers Month and with a look at an ardent female farmer. This and more coming up, but first, the news.
Good day, I'm Stephen McHugh, and this is your JIS News for Tuesday, April 18, 2023. Prime Minister Andrew Holness is among regional leaders who are strengthening efforts to address the illegal export of small arms and light weapons into the Caribbean. Mr. Holness and a delegation are in Trinidad and Tobago for the two-day regional symposium on violence as a public health issue, the Crime Challenge. In his address on Monday, Prime Minister Holness called for stronger preventative actions from bilateral and multilateral partners to ensure greater control of the high level of transshipment to the region.
This regional approach to prevent a dangerous substance from leaving our shores to get to the streets of North America is taken in the war on drugs. That's what it is. We spend effort, we spend time preventing an illegal substance getting to the shores of another country. A similar effort must be placed on ensuring that illegal guns don't leave their shores to come to our countries.
The CARICOM conference comes as the region grapples with heightened transnational criminal activities. Police Commissioner Major General Anthony Anderson, who is also at the conference, presented the Jamaican perspective on crime in the region. He said illegal guns, drugs, profits from illegal activities, and gangs and organized criminal networks were the main areas of concern.
Although we are not what you call a destination country for drugs, we are a transshipment country, have been for a while. In the early 2000s, we were significantly involved in this, and then we went through a process of arresting just 5 people, extraditing them, and that caused those networks to collapse. We've seen persons try to rebuild these networks, and the seizures are a result of these reconstructed networks. The good thing is that we have been interdicting them, and interdicting them significantly.
The Prime Minister and his delegation will return to the island on Wednesday. Back home, an additional $40 million has been pumped into the Southern Coastal Highway Improvement Project to give Grants Pen residents in St. Thomas access to the highway. The major road network no longer passes through the community, and the access road will allow for continued economic benefits. While touring sections of St. Thomas last week, Prime Minister Andrew Holness said the investment demonstrated the inclusion of benefits to the people.
This investment of putting in this additional $40 million to give access to the highway is an investment in the community. How it is utilized is going to determine the level of benefit that the community gets. So I'm happy to hear that the Member of Parliament has plans for the community, which includes developing the community as a fishing village, putting in entertainment facilities there, and rest stop facilities. So that little community, which we estimate would have about 500 residents,
yes, 500 residents and more.
The Grants Pen community, will now have some economic benefit to gain from this highway being developed.
The Southern Coastal Highway Improvement Project is being implemented by the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation with co-funding from the Government of Jamaica and China Exim Bank. The objective of the project is to improve the alignment and capacity of the existing Southern Coastal Main Arterial Road to make it safe and efficient, free from flooding, and a vehicle for future development. Government, through the Ministry of Sports, has committed $20 million in welfare support for the Reggae Girls ahead of their 2023 World Cup participation in Australia. The announcement was made by Portfolio Minister Olivia Grange at the unveiling of the Jamaican leg of the Women's FIFA World Cup Trophy Tour at the Jamaica Pegasus Hotel yesterday.
In regard to the support of the government of Jamaica to the Reggae Girls, we will be providing a monthly stipend for each member of the squad for their nutrition and other training needs beginning the end of this month. And this will continue until the World Cup.
With 98 days to go before the start of the Women's World Cup, FIFA has embarked on a tour of the 32 qualifying countries, making it the largest tour to date.
It's really wonderful for us to be in Jamaica with what is the most coveted prize in women's sport, the FIFA Women's World Cup original trophy. And we hope that the presence of the trophy today is going to provide even more inspiration to go beyond, to go further.
The FIFA World Cup Trophy Tour made stops at the St. Jago High School, Ocho Rios High, and at Harmony Beach Park in Montego Bay. The World Cup finals will take place from July 20 to August 20. The Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries says continued support will be given to boost banana and plantain production. Portfolio Minister Pernell Charles Jr. says farmers will be provided with the tools and know-how needed to manage and operate their farms in a way that will maximize output and productivity.
The important issue for us in Farmers Month is to continue to ensure that our farmers are fitted with the capacity. So we are at the Banana Board continuing to promote best practices and strengthening of institutional capacity.
Minister Charles Jr. points out that production for banana increased by 2.8% and 18.7% for plantain in 2022. This is in spite of the effects of tropical storms Grace and Ida in 2021. And finally, the Banana Board has issued a warning to banana and plantain growers to be on the alert for the tropical race 4 TR4 disease. The disease, which is a fungus that lives in the soil, usually attacks the root of the tree. It also has the capacity to spread quickly and destroy crops. General Manager of the Banana Board, Jeanette Coney, says while the disease is not yet on the island, it is currently in Trinidad, which is very close.
We are concerned because the disease was always on the other side of the world. And then it jumped to South America in 2019, in Honduras. Then it jumped from there to Peru in 2021, and January 2023, it reached Venezuela. Venezuela is next to Trinidad. People move between Trinidad and Jamaica.
Ms. Coney was speaking at a recent JIS think tank on activities in the industry. She says that in honor of Banana Day on Wednesday, April 19, the ministry wants to make sure that nothing hinders the product's growth.
The minister has put in place a national task force. From 2019, Banana Board heads that. We are co-hosts with, co-chairs with Plant Quarantine Division of the ministry. So we are attacking from all fronts. If you see anything that looks strange, call the Banana Board. Yellowing of the leaves is the most obvious sign, but I'm telling you, it can yellow for a number of things. Call us.
Farmers are encouraged to call the Banana Board at 876-922-5490. They are also encouraged to take preventative measures, including putting a foot bath at the entrance of their farm, as well as a vehicle bath, fencing the farm where possible, and keeping a log sheet of all the names of persons who visit the farm for traceability. And that's it for JIS News Today. I'm Stephen McHugh. Thanks for watching.
In terms of our preparedness, we need to understand that we have earthquakes almost every day. They're always happening here in Jamaica, and there is nowhere on the island that you can go to escape an earthquake. So what persons need to bear in mind is that earthquakes can happen at any time. There is no season for earthquakes. It has nothing to do with the weather. It has nothing to do with the heat. It can just happen like that. Port Royal's earthquake was in July. The 1907 Kingston earthquake was in January. So there is no specific time of year.
There are innate capabilities that we train our health care workers and the team members that constitute the health system to be able to provide care. So part of what we do is to engage with the team members through regular and systematic training to ensure a constant level of awareness of the likelihood and threat that may be faced, the required skill sets to manage in what would be a very complex and confusing situation, the necessity to ensure that we can communicate at different levels and with different team members. And so we do regular training on a routine basis to manage mass casualty situations, which can easily overwhelm even our regular capabilities. And if necessary, we have to set up our medical care facilities outside of what would have been our normal healthcare facilities.
One of the key assets that we have is our disaster assistance response teams, what we call DART teams, that are prioritizing 3 priorities. Priority 1 being those that are ready and for immediate notice to move to assist in any disaster situation. That element is constituted by a number of different specialty areas: engineers, medicals, medical personnel, logisticians, etc. They are so equipped that they can be moved to anywhere in the island and be self-sufficient for a period of time in assisting ODPEM or the government of Jamaica in general with any disaster.
We would be required to ensure that the area or areas affected are properly cordoned and secured. We'd have to ensure that routes leading to and from our major hospitals are clear, or to provide information as to the clearest and safest routes to and from those hospitals, and ensure that they are maintained in a safe manner for the emergency units to respond. Assist the search and rescue in respect to ensuring that persons leave the building safely and go to a safe area away from the building. Ensure that those who would want to seize the opportunity to commit crimes such as looting don't get that opportunity.
The latest now on all that happened in the office of the Prime Minister this past week.
The desk of the Prime Minister was quite busy in the past week. I'm Vaughn Davis and you're watching Jamaica House Weekly. Prime Minister Andrew Holness is in Trinidad and Tobago, participating in a 2-day regional symposium exploring violence as a public health issue. The CARICOM conference comes as the region grapples with heightened transnational criminal activities. In his address, Prime Minister Holness reiterated the call for coordinated and strengthened bilateral efforts with the United States, as well as multilateral interventions to secure greater control over the illegal export of small arms and light weapons into the Caribbean.
This regional approach to prevent a dangerous substance from leaving our shores to get to the streets of North America is taken in the war on drugs. That's what it is. We spend effort, we spend time preventing an illegal substance getting to the shores of another country. A similar effort must be placed on ensuring that illegal guns don't leave their shores to come to our countries.
The Prime Minister will return to the island on Wednesday. Before heading to Trinidad, Prime Minister Holness toured the St. Thomas leg of the Southern Coastal Highway Improvement Project. He assured residents that they would see improvement in the conditions associated with the construction.
We have agreed that the contractor and NWA will increase both the wetting and the supervision of wetting to ensure that the dust nuisance is controlled. The issue of access, so far I have not seen anything to suggest that residents are not able to access their properties, but the instruction has been given to ensure that residents should be able to access their properties with relative comfort.
Mr. Holness says the NWA has also been directed to ensure that at least one lane of roadway is drivable during the construction. The Prime Minister is assuring residents that the pace of work will step up and they will be moving towards completion very quickly.
The conditions essentially are that this house that is given to you, you must maintain it. It would be a great travesty if after giving you this house, it is destroyed or not maintained. We have built it in such a way that you can't destroy it. This is a well-built structure. You would have to try very hard to destroy it.
The Prime Minister was addressing the most recent beneficiaries of the government's new social housing program. On Friday, he handed over 6 NSHIP units in Manchester.
I'm very appreciative to the staff and the Prime Minister and the assistants, the MP. Yes, it's a good job. I really love and appreciate it, and I must say a big thank you again because I can start make a little move now from here.
The new social housing program was developed in 2018 to improve the housing condition of the country's poor and disadvantaged population. There are 38 NSHIP units currently under construction. Last week also saw the Prime Minister meeting with 13-year-old youth advisor Akif Nugent, who has been making big waves in his community through education, sports and entertainment. His expressed vision for his community is to reduce crime and violence through social intervention. During a courtesy call with the youngster, Prime Minister Holness praised the tenacity and determination with which he assumed the role of community leader, advocate and advisor. He hailed Akif as a true representation of the best of Jamaica. And the Prime Minister was among many Jamaicans expressing deep sadness at the passing of Winston Bello Bell over the weekend. Mr. Holness reflected on Bell's numerous standout roles, many of which elicited rounds of belly laughter. He hailed him as an exceptionally talented actor, comedian and prominent Jamaican. In his more than 3 decades career, Winston Bello Bell is known for his roles in productions such as Third World Cop, One Love, First Black Britons, Glory to Gloriana and Get a Life. He won several Actor Boy Awards, most notably for Old Story Time. Winston Bello Bell passed away on Saturday. The Prime Minister also expressed sadness at the passing of former Mayor of Kingston and St. Andrew, Colleen Yap, the wife of Freddie Yap, former Member of Parliament for West Central St. Andrew. Colleen Yap was the second female Mayor of Kingston, having served from 1982 to 1984. And this is where we close out Jamaica House Weekly. We'll be back next week with more stories coming out of the office of the Prime Minister.
Up next, the ministry charged with focused attention to Jamaica's legislative agenda and its legal and constitutional reform aspirations. Let's look now at the budget allotted to the ministry with this particular care. It's the Ministry of Legal and Constitutional Affairs.
We are the new kid on the block. The ministry has been established to take charge of and give focused attention to Jamaica's legislative agenda and its legal and constitutional reform aspirations.
The Ministry of Legal and Constitutional Affairs is therefore tasked with supervising the legislative program of each ministry, providing technical and guidance support, monitoring and implementing strategies to combat any shortcomings identified.
It is so important for everyone to understand and appreciate that the law-making process involves various stages.
The still fairly new ministry has been given a budget of $875.3 million to carry out its functions in the 2023-24 fiscal year. It's approximately $147 million more than what was spent during its first year in existence. The overall budget accounts for 2 components of the ministry's work: executive and administration functions and the facilitation of law reform. $290.5 million will see to the operational costs of the ministry, which includes development, implementation and administration of policies. Of that amount, $106 million is going to the expenses of the Corporate Services Division. $173 million is set aside for the Executive Office, which provides oversight and general direction for the ministry. In addition, $10.3 million will be spent on the production of research data that will inform policy decisions.
For this financial year, the ministry's focus will be on constitutional reform.
Government has signaled its intention to see Jamaica transition from a constitutional monarchy to a republic. The Ministry of Legal and Constitutional Affairs is in charge of this process, and its $584 million budget for the facilitation of law reform will primarily support this work. $106 million of that money goes to the operational expenses for the reform of laws. This is where the ministry takes a deliberate look at the existing laws and advocates for and implements the necessary changes in the legal system. Money for drafting bills and subsidiary legislation has been estimated at $178.9 million. This is the preparation of legal documents and provision of legal advice. The cost associated with the publication of the updated pages of the revised laws of Jamaica and the facilitation of the publication of the laws online is estimated at $23.4 million. The ministry also has responsibility for the Norman Manley Law School. A contribution of $276.3 million has been set aside to support the institution's operation during the financial year.
We know that there is no getting around taking meaningful steps to collaborate and cooperate in the process to reform the Constitution of Jamaica.
The Ministry of Legal and Constitutional Affairs is working diligently to provide sound legal advice and reformation to our country.
Hi Jamaica, this is Pernell Charles Jr., your Minister of Agriculture and Fisheries. April is recognized as Farmers Month, and that's the time for us to celebrate our noble, hardworking and resilient farmers and fishers. Our food heroes have led Jamaica through some of the most difficult times. Whether it is pandemic, global conflict or climate change, you have continued to persist and exceed expectations. So we want to thank you for 7 consecutive quarters of growth in the agricultural sector and assure you that the Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries will continue to give the necessary support so that you can continue to be the food heroes that you are. Farming is viable and food security is everybody's business. So, as we celebrate Farmers Month, we want to urge all Jamaicans to get on board and grow smart and eat smart. Remember, one love.
Female farming, it is not unheard of, but still a wonder to see a woman in this field, especially one that is blazing the trail. The name Elaine means light, and she's just that to her family and community. That is the story of female farmer Elaine Sadler.
Women does everything, and farming is no different. Yes, it's a little bit hot and it's a little bit messy and you get your hands dirty and all of that. But, you know, old time people said if you want good, your nose off a run.
These are the remarks of our female farmer, Elaine Sadler, a lady who recognizes that effort pays dividends and having family support makes the job easier.
I grew up seeing my parents doing this basically all their lives. They were farmers and shopkeepers, and so I think from an early stage that would have been in us.
Elaine decided to fulfill her destiny by starting a family-owned business in order to preserve her parents' legacy. Like most journeys, it started out with trials and errors.
When I just started here, I would have planted about 5 acres of cantaloupe and yellow squash at the time. And I remember we had trucks and trucks and truckloads of these produce, but we did not have market at the time. I was young in the business at the time, and maybe I did not do my research well to find the market before, and that was a major, major problem.
the farming road was a rugged one.
Farm roads is usually a problem for any farmer in Jamaica, I think, and we have been having this problem now for many, many years.
But Elaine is a lady with a strong will to see things through to completion.
We didn't allow that to deter us anyways. So as it is right now, I would not say I'm having major problems because I am supplying to my own business, and that is excellent.
With the intention of creating a family business, Elaine enlisted her brother's help in running the farm.
I could not again do it on my own. I manage 5 acres of this land here, owner and manager of 5 acres for myself. But we spoke about 15 to 20 acres and he's involved in that, the rest of it. So it's a family-owned business similarly to my restaurant.
First, I must say I have a very good sister, somebody who loves to incorporate family. And she was always looking out for us to have something that we are in charge of. And that's mainly it. My daily work is to see to it that everything goes as it's supposed to be. Scout the field so that we have proper sanitation for weeds, pests, fungicide, fungus, and for fertilization. I must see to that.
Being in the industry for about 20 years, Elaine has learned a thing or two about crop rotation.
Usually we have to rotate our crops as we are directed by RAD and those people who guide us and help us. It is not wise to plant the same thing over and over and over. And so we would have been doing several things here over time. I planted onions and it was beautiful. We had a wonderful crop. But we could not do that again. So most of this land that you see, we are now preparing them again to plant something different.
And to safeguard the yield.
You have to monitor the crops all the time to see if and when they need spraying, and we use all the recommended pesticides and herbicides, working with RADA and the experience of my team, my manager here. So they know exactly what to use to get rid of fungus and pests.
Despite having a busy schedule, Elaine still finds time to help her neighborhood by utilizing her car to deliver the items to her neighbors while also making additional investments.
I think being able to just purchase the stuff that the people grow in this community is of great help, because we basically buy from the farmers in this community.
This begs the question: should women think about farming as a realistic career option?
Certainly, why not?
I would definitely encourage any young miss to do it.
Now is the time to really get into farming. I think it's a perfect time. And farming is not what it used to be back in the days when my parents used to be in the broiling sun all day in their boots with a little hat and sun and digging. Now we have tractors and stuff that does our plowing and all of that on the farm. So it makes it a little easier, and it makes it easier for women to manage a farm.
You too may become a part of the effort to develop a sustainable agriculture system just like Elaine did, whether it be in farming, food processing, distribution, or waste management. It's the call for Jamaicans to regenerate our productivity.
We've come to the end of another amazing magazine program. I do hope you had a wonderful time with us. Should you want a recap of today's show or any other program, please visit our website, jis.gov.jm. Until next time, I'm Adrian Atkinson. Do take care, and thank you so much for watching.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.